Booker. We're going to continue on. We're getting through this. We're going to get down to to where Don's making a mess of things, really big time this time, and he has sent out his ships to make war on the other groups at Karen's behest. So this is in the Navy. Don was resting on a platform in a tree above his domain. With all his people focused on building a navy, they had little time for anything else. Farmland was left to go to weeds. Productivity in other areas was at a standstill. They were almost out of food stores, and Don's people were getting worried. Not only were they focused on building ships and armaments to the exclusion of all else, but they were expected to provision them. This left less food for the people remaining on shore. In the evening, when they were allowed to rest, they gleaned what they could to add to their meager allotment. Don wasn't satisfied with their progress and figured on popping down for a visit. Much to his surprise, he couldn't will himself down from the tree. He only made this discovery after having leapt off the platform. Plummeting down, he noticed with disquiet that a sudden gust of wind was propelling his landing into a huge pile of excrement. Squelching sound he made as he entered the slightly moist pile made people turn hastily around. The sight of their god up to his neck in poop was enough to make them laugh despite the fact it might anger him. What changed their laughter to wonder was the fact that Don didn't magically clean himself off or do anything to avoid the dung pile. Had their god lost his powers? Hold on, I want to see something. Okay. Don went and cleaned himself at the beach and returned still dripping wet. To say he was furious would be an understatement. He stood on a stump and yelled at his people. You would do your duty towards me and I would not have to have been covered in dung. You will give me the reverence properly and you will start now. He put his fist on his hips and waited. People looked at each other. Why give reverence to a god who didn't care about his people? An elderly man approached his god angrily. Why should we show you reverence? Why should we pray to one who has held us back? You care nothing for us and expect us to care about you? He spat at Don's feet. How can we trust a god such as you? We give you reverence, you will turn on us in an instant. He turned to the people. Give him nothing. He is powerless. He whipped around and soundly punched Don on the nose. Don staggered back and fell again into the excrement. The man timidly approached the old man. But we have need of his godly powers. We have labored on building his navy and provisioning his ships. We have little left. Where else can we turn for food? We have ships now. We can seek trade instead of destruction. We can regain what has been squandered. People heard the old man out and looked from him to Don. Don was still sitting in manure with a man standing over him. Don stood and tried to control his rage. Give me reverence and I'll ensure you are fed, clothed, towels. It's my source of energy and without it I can do nothing. This navy and its purpose are ordained by one higher than myself. I'm a servant to my God as you should be to me. The people are confused. The ships are already to sail, but for what purpose? Destruction or trade? Destruction accomplished nothing. Might even bring destruction back on themselves. Trade would benefit everyone. They saw no use in sending out the ships to make war. Don saw the way things were heading and determined that time was his only ally. If he could postpone the launch until the next day so he could speak to his God and determine what to do. Well, let me speak to my God and ask why we must go to war, why we must destroy the ships of other lands. The answer is just and honorable. Will you show me reverence so that I can provide for you and our ships can be used for their intended purpose? Don went to his place and the people to theirs. Don went to sleep for his God spoke to him only in his dreams. His people went to sleep because they were tired and weak from hunger. The next day would determine the future for both of them. In the club, Dionysus left to see to things on Earth, and Fred went to relax by talking to Bertold. Oddly enough, he didn't have to seek Bertold out. Bertold found him. Somehow, Bertold always knew when someone needed or wanted him. He appeared at Fred's elbow and invited him to try out a new concoction he'd invented. If it's anything like the Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster, you count me out. He was assured it was mild, but had wonderful flavors. It takes 37 beverages, all layered in the glass. When you sip it, each layer slides off the one below it, and you only receive the required shot. They call it a therapeutic slider, and it starts light to dark, sweet to rich. It's created to relax and comfort. Well, Fred was intrigued and followed Bertold into the lounge. Karen checked her internal clock. It's time for her to make an appearance in Don's dream. She found a secluded area in the relaxation room. Here are massage chairs, lazy-boy recliners, heated couches, and any other appliance to cause relaxation. Laying in a massage chair, she set it for maximum relaxation and focused on Don. Dionysus was down in Don's area and outside his home. Seated with his back to the outside wall, he waited until he could feel Karen enter Don's dreams. When she did, he entered the dreams right behind her. Karen created her standard image of a blackened figure with a bright light shining behind her. Her voice lowered to a sepulchral level. She called to her disciple, Don, have you done as I commanded and stopped the incursion of travelers? Have you kept them in their place of origin? Speak and tell me that you have. Don was hesitant to reply. No matter how he phrased it, he was going to seem weak and ineffectual. My God, I have not sent them, for they would not go. They want to know why we should oppose their mingling with other places. If I simply say it is because you told them to, they will resist, and I am not strong in reverential power to oppose them. I can't even travel but in physical labor. I need you to strengthen me so that I may do your bidding. Karen cursed under her breath. That was exactly what she didn't want to do. Any sign that Don suddenly acquired power would show that she was interfering. It wasn't just the power, but the type of power. Her trance would show she had been involved. If hers and Fred's got found out, she would be stripped of her powers and made a spirit. She had to find a way to have Don's people show him reverence so the gauge would show the proper way. For that to happen, she had to have a reasonable reason for him to give. Well, tell him that these incursions by the other lands are a prelude to war. They are sending these vessels to seek information on strength and armaments and what valuables they hoard. Individually, they seek the resources the others have and to take them by force if necessary. We are the only ones who have the ability to protect them and from their own actions. We are the benevolent people who desire to keep peace for all, so that all may grow, to each to their own ability and promise. She wriggled in the seat in silent mirth. She had put it over nicely. Don's people would show him the reverence. She reminded him of his duty and departed in a flash of light. Don was ready to awaken when he realized that the figure had returned. He composed himself to slumber again and waited for further information. This time the voice was harsh and dismissive. Don, you are a fool. You heed this call of a deceiver who seeks to destroy Fred and keep you from performing your duty. Look at the other lands of Earth and then look at your own. Your people strive for greatness. Well, when you're not there, they achieve it. They were doing well until the supposed god you follow told you to keep them in their own section. Do you really want to be a puppet, or are you going to be your own god? Dionysus wanted to say more, but he was suddenly pulled out by Karen, who had discovered what he was up to. She locked him in one of the rooms at the club and masked the door so it no longer was visible. Fred would be able to release him, but she thought it likely that Fred wouldn't even know he was there. As far as her brother was concerned, all the guys had been demoted and sent off. Curiosity alone made her wait on to see what Don would do. Who would he heed, her or Dionysus? Don woke confused. He'd had 2 visitations. Could it be that there were 2 overgods above Fred and Karen that were in competition? Which one was he should he believe? The first visitation gave the answer to his question. The second had tried to convince him he was being used. The first had offered him the opportunity of receiving reverence again from his people. The second offered nothing. He made his decision. Walking out amongst his people, he saw them weak from hunger and labor. Standing on the highest hill, he spoke to them. I've been contacted by my God, and this is why we must go and war on the ships of the other lands. These incursions by the other lands against each other are prelude to many wars which would spread even to our fair lands. They're sending these vessels to seek information on strength and armaments and what valuables they hoard. Individually, they seek the resources the others have and to take them by force if necessary. We are the only ones who can protect them from their own actions. We only desire to keep peace for all so that all may grow, each to their own ability and promise. The people bowed and gave the reverence they had withheld. Don promptly revived the neglected fields and provided food for all. After feeding, they gave reverence again. Don was about at a half a quarter power and feeling better. The ships were ready and the crews are assigned. Inhaling deeply, he blew a gust of wind, sending the ships off to the cheers and applause of his people. In the relaxation room, Karen rose from the couch and stretched. Turning around, she bumped into Berthold, who was standing there with a gin and tonic on a tray. She had just been thinking about ordering one, and poof, Berthold was there with one ready for her. You give me the creeps, you know that? Berthold nodded, retrieved the glass, and moved off. Karen shivered as she watched him leave. And all the time she'd known Berthold, she'd never understood how he accomplished all he did. Well, true, there were spirits who did the functional work, but Berthold seemed to be more than a spirit. She didn't know what it was, but she really did find him unnerving. She packed her bag and went home for a while. Finding the apartment empty, she saw a note tacked onto the fridge. Going to stay at the club for a while. Be back in a few years. She assumed he had just left since she didn't see him at the club. She was glad she had come home when she had. The last thing she wanted was to see him there. Okay, the next one is Conundrum, and we'll see how his ships fare on the open sea. So that's it for today. Appreciate you stopping by. Look forward to seeing you again. And be good. Be good to yourself. And if it's raining out, go out and play in the rain. It's beautiful. It's so much fun. Anyways, got to turn this thing off.